Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley, and this is another church in the Shropshire Hills series. This is the Church of St. Peter, Coreley. It's a church that has Norman origins, but was very largely rebuilt in brick in the early 19th century for a very good reason, which is that basically it was collapsing. And we'll see later on evidence of just what the problems were. It's another one of these cases where they built on the side of a hill and didn't quite factor in ground movement downhill. It's been Victorianised somewhat. You can see the brick chancel arch behind, rather good. And so we have a look around and see what's to be seen here, including the evidence of the catastrophe that forced the rebuilding. So as usual, we start at the west end. You can see here this is a corona. It's a type of, well, originally it would have been a full-on chandelier, but it's been wired with electricity for half of its candle brackets. Quite a popular Gothic, Victorian Gothic type of lighting. The font is Victorian, quite plain octagonal font here. There is a chancel screen here, 1930, 1937, not chancel screen, tower screen even. Simple lancet windows, list of rectors going back to 1722 and one Simon. No evidence of anyone being ejected in 1662. That's quite nice Victorian windows. Obviously 1870s seem to have been replaced. We've got here one of the few surviving memorials from the old church, and this is to a Mr. Colling of Coreley, Gent, 1652. So 1650s. A little bit of Jacobean panel there, which has been turned into a lectern in not, I think, the most sympathetic way, but never mind. And chancel screen. The pulpit is Jacobean, or at least is made up of Jacobean panels. So there it is. Chancel, another one of these corona. This one is still very much for candles only. The organ is that's a very nice chamber organ case there. Again, it's something that was given in 1861, so it's going to be older than that. Probably, there may very well be a maker's name inside. Here, of course, is the altar, and you've got your triple lancet east window, crucifixion central, Christ the Good Shepherd, and Christ the Friend of Little Children. These are very common themes here. Here we have, Lord, now lettest thou thy servant depart in peace. This is Christ's presentation of the temple and old Simeon. There's a window there, and memorial here to the Reverend Walter Halliburton AM, that's Artist Magister, Master of Arts, Rector of Coreley, died 17th December 1854, aged 35, buried at Wigan in the county of Lancaster, which of course means he died not here, but he would have died up in Lancashire. So looking west through the chancel screen, there's a nice brick arch, probably inserted later into the early 19th century building, but again it's this idea of beautifying it a bit, because it probably would have been rather plain. You've got your typical blue ceiling above the sanctuary with your gold stars, and only half the old altar rail is still there. The other half is missing. I do hope no one pinched it, because if they did, then, well, that's a very wrong thing to do. And so there we see the evidence of why the church had to be rebuilt. Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. The tower arch is leaning quite significantly to the south. That is downhill. Something has gone wrong. So the church had to be rebuilt from the ground up. just because otherwise it would have collapsed because of that issue there. And so here we are outside of Coreley. You can see the big solid tower with that whacking great buttress, necessary as we saw because of that leaning arch. And then the rest of the building is this brick that's been built very carefully after the foundations have been absolutely secured, so that it's not going to do what the previous building did, start moving down the hill. So we'll have a look around the outside and then come back and a few words in conclusion. So here we are down the hill. You can see here, just hand out, up the hill to the church, and there in front of the church is the churchyard cross. The base is medieval, the upper part clearly has been renewed by the Victorians. The very top is, I think the shaft itself is medieval, but the top, the actual cross, is not. You can see in the walls how these lancets have been inserted where previous windows would have been. Nice bit of woodwork, and then we've got this little spire coming out of the top of the roof there. A pyramidal roof on the tower. These pyramidal roofs are very, very common in this part of the world. Towers need to have something on the top of them after all. And there we go, further up the hill. It's on the side of the hill. It's just unfortunate that when it was built, someone didn't really factor in that actually you need to make sure that your church is going to start moving down the hill. You need to stay on the hill where it is, rather than to go further down into the valley. That is the Team Valley over there, I believe, looking into Worcestershire in the distance. And that, for any American viewers, is how you pronounce Worcestershire, as in the sauce. Like a lot of these things, you have to know it otherwise. And here we are, the tower again. Very simple. Got your organ chamber sticking out the north side here, and absolutely the other one sadly had to be knocked down because of this stability issue. Knocked down before it pulled itself down and down into the valley and caused who knows how much damage. I think it's squirrel. And so there we go. The church here, St. Peter's at Coreley. They've been a church here since the 12th century, but only the tower today is medieval. There's the end of the chancel, and we should come round then to the south side again, and there's the churchyard cross on the south side, and the porch and the planting around the porch, and the churchyard cross again, a nice round base there. So that is St. Peter's, Coreley. And so that's Coreley. It's a lovely building again, another reflection on how Shropshire Hills churches have changed and developed over time. Very pretty building, brick, nice little porch here, almost like the porch of a little cottage, isn't it? But it is in fact, of course, the church porch. Well, thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.